All right, good morning. It is Monday, February 10th, 2025. I'm Anthony. This is Drive Dive. So I've been focused a lot on productivity. Check out my previous videos. This one is not about productivity. It's just about having fun with your kids. I had a really enjoyable weekend. I spent a lot of time with my son. Some great moments with my daughter, some things we're working on, right? He's 8, she's 2. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. So I'll start with my son. As I've shared before, we play in a lot of Disney Lorcana events, tournaments, try to get to some different leagues and either play totally casually or play a bit more competitively with some prize packs and things like that on the line. And it's just been a really fun experience. Sharing the experience, but TCGs in general, right? If I haven't elaborated on this, he started playing Pokemon when he was around 5, and it was great motivation. Not that he wasn't motivated at all, but motivation to read, right? Learn to read, learn some, I would say basic arithmetic, but Pokemon, in addition to, or I should say on top of, addition and subtraction, there is also multiplication involved in Pokemon. You'll get into 2-digit, 3-digit addition, subtraction, and then you end up multiplying sometimes by like 40 and 80, 10, 40, 80, things of that nature. Maybe even 25, depending on the cards and the amount of damage or how it's structured and such. But then we moved on to Disney Lorcana. The arithmetic isn't as involved. And we started joining, like I said, leagues and things and interacting with adults. And so my son he is gifted and talented. He's a pretty smart cookie. But he does enjoy, I think, interacting a lot then with adults and talking about the game and talking about different strategies and, I don't know, just sharing, right? And socializing. And so it's been a great way for him to, just develop, right, as a human, social, interactive being. And one of the highlights this weekend was, it doesn't happen very often, we ended up, or the past 2 weekends, ended up playing against kids his age at a place down in Cherry Hill called Top Deck. We played against a 9-year-old boy who, I always enjoy watching my 8-year-old son beat adults. I mean, this 9-year-old had a really strong deck, so he destroyed me, and so it's just fun to then also chat with that kid too. But then the two of them are chatting it up and enjoying walking around and checking out some other people play. And this weekend, my son played against an older girl. She was, I think, in 4th grade is what my son shared. He's in 2nd, so whether there might have been a 2-year difference, but it was clear that he was kind of smitten or love struck by this girl. When I mentioned it to him, he turned several shades of pink and red. So it's a very, very cute moment, right? And so just this learning experience, it was just fun, right? A lot of it is just fun, but no, it's not just for fun. There's so much learning involved in it, and involved in TCGs, getting these tournaments. Yes, it's a lot of time away from family. I mean, that's the nature of any decision, right, that we make, is there are some sacrifices that are made. Choose to do one thing, well, you obviously can't then do something else. There is a sacrifice involved, so you kind of just have to take that and take the good with it, right, and recognize the learning opportunities and such inherent in it. So maybe a little productivity talk creeping in, but I just wanted to speak out against those who would say that participating in tournaments like this are gambling. I mean, on some levels, maybe it's a form thereof, but I don't think so. It's kind of like, it's competitive, right? I mean, you put a deck together, kind of like putting a team together. You go and you play against other players who have similarly put together a deck. Sometimes the deck you put together, you're thinking about the other players, if you know them, and what they might like to play. So there's like some scouting involved, right? And so if you look at it at that level of just playing, I mean, it really is just, it's more competitive, and I don't want to dismiss it as gambling. Don't be so quick to judge and lose out on all of the learning opportunities inherent in playing this card game. I also mentioned my daughter. She's 2, and we're just, she has a lot of, she and I have a lot of fun together. We've been singing the Baby Shark song a lot as she's working on her speech, and she seems to like singing. We have one that's like blocks, blocks, blocks. I mean, and that's the gist of it. She'll just start singing, and sometimes that leads us to playing with blocks. And she keeps saying house, house, and we'll build houses out of blocks, right? Or we'll draw them on a pad and all this other stuff, right? But one of the fun ones, has been Baby Shark, and she practices just saying names of people. She'll say daddy, and then I finish it off with shark, do, etc. But that's prompted her to then go around the horn to everybody else, and now she started going to herself, and so she started then saying her own name, which is monumental, right, in terms of speech development and everything. So I've enjoyed just singing with her and watching her vocabulary build, right, and her confidence with that too, I think. I also enjoy, I know a lot of people judge, but I enjoy that, when I show up, she comes running to me. She wants me to hold her. She wants me to play with her. And so this happened just last night. Again, my son and I were at a card tournament, and then afterward we go and join the family at a Super Bowl party, right? My wife and daughter were at my wife's parents' house. And I show up, we walk in the door, my daughter's all daddy, daddy, and it always happens. My mother-in-law will say, oh, well, she was just fine until you got here. And it's kind of, again, your mindset is really important, how you look at things and your word choice and all. The way I look at it, I said it right back to my mother-in-law. I said, no, this is what love looks like. This is what admiration looks like. My daughter enjoys spending time with me. Like, I'm not, you can't say she was fine and now all of a sudden she's not fine. Like, this behavior isn't not fine. This behavior is, in my opinion, perfect. I love my daughter. She loves me. We enjoy spending time with one another, laughing, and, she'll lay down and ask me to tickle her. Like, it's a little cumbersome, when she wants me to carry her, and I'm like, yeah, but daddy needs to eat. Can daddy eat? And she'll flat out tell me no. And so, I'll wait on it. I don't mind. So, I can be a bit of a pushover in that sense, but, if that's, like I said, if that's, in my view, what love and admiration looks like, I'm all for it, and when we say that she was fine and now she's not, well, what did fine look like before I got there? Was she playing independently, which is fine too, but in my view, there's it's impossible, however you look at that, right? Child playing independently in a room full of adults, is that great, the child learning to be independent, or on some level is that child being neglected? When we talk about things like we want her to work on her speech, well, if she's playing independently, she's probably not working on her speech. So there's all these different things about parenting and whatnot, and different ways to look at it, different approaches. And so I know that I enjoy picking up my daughter. I enjoy talking with her. Even when she's telling me, no, I can't eat dinner, well, guess what? She's talking, right? And so, I have to focus on the positive there. So, mostly, I guess, recap this video real quick, a little bit of productivity creeping in, certainly positivity, but really just love your kids, and understand what kind of outcomes you're looking for, what kind of behaviors you're looking for in them, and then acknowledge the good. Just run with the good and make the most of it. So that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this little, parenting chat. If you wouldn't mind, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Try to put one out every day. Just share some thoughts. Sounding like this week I'll focus on parenting and some stories with my kids. They're usually all about this length, 10 minutes or so. And then on Saturday mornings, I just kind of put everything together in a longer video. But anyway, check some stuff out. Leave a comment down below. Love comments. I'll like them, love them, and get back to you, give you a shout out, in the next video. So anyway, have a good day. See you tomorrow. All right, good morning out there. Today is Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. I'm Anthony. This is Drive Dad. So if you're just joining, the past, a couple weeks, I've been talking about productivity and exploring ways of really increasing or improving, my own productivity. Talking about goals, habits, and systems, and routines, and identity, right? And a lot of that has been informed by, one, life experience, but then two, in a formal way, James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. But I guess, too, I wanted to talk about now is other means of productivity or ways of looking at things. And I guess as a parent, I try to reflect a lot on, in the moment, different experiences. What are my kids gaining from this? And so I guess today's topic is really productivity through play, right? Or productive play. Recognizing that, there are forms of play that some people value, some people acknowledge, right? And other forms that people don't value. And so, over the weekend, I took my son to a Disney Lorcana tournament, and the gentleman running it commended me for bringing my son and going around to these different card shops and participating in these tournaments. He just thought it was really cool that I did it. But he was saying it was cool because when he was a child, he recalled his dad not valuing the experience, not taking an interest, not playing. He said he would even go home and tell his dad, I won, this $100 card. And I think he was telling me, right, there's a lot of Pokemon tournaments, and it just, none of it registered with his dad. And so that type of play, right, that experience, those activities he was engaged in as a child, his father didn't value. So he appreciated that here I am as a dad with my 8-year-old child at these tournaments, really buying in and engaging and participating myself. He took the time to commend me for it. So, yesterday I spoke about the sort of learning opportunities inherent in participating in these trading card game matches and events. And I think it's been huge, for my son, who, when he first started playing Pokemon for a bit, he was just learning to read. So it was great motivation to learn to read, to learn basic arithmetic, and now on to socialization and so on. And so I really wanted to touch upon some other experiences where, at an early age, we did start playing video games, or at an earlier age, I guess prior to, playing what I initially called for him two-thumb games. He was then playing early games on a tablet, which then don't require two thumbs, but maybe a single finger. If you catch my drift. Anyway, it's just, right, touching the screen with one finger versus using both hands and two thumbs, whatever. Now, of course, right, it's more than just your thumbs. You're using your pointer fingers, all this other, for different button combinations and triggers, etc. But I felt like early on there are obviously, one finger tablet phone games designed for learning letters, for learning numbers, right, tracing the number 3, tracing the letter A, B, C, etc. But I think too, on top of that, I was able to use some of that play, his interest in play, his interest in playing on my cell phone, to teach him some other things and to engage him in some other activities. And so one of those, in a very early age, was certainly potty training. Maybe not what you expected when you hit play on this video, but his desire to play on my cell phone, I was able to say, okay, we can play on my phone, but you have to do so on the potty, right? And so that was me motivating him to potty train, right? To get on the toilet. In that process too, once he started to learn numbers, I set the pin on my phone gradually over time to his mom's cell phone number. So initially it was only 3 or 4 digits. And once he memorized that routine, that pin and the process of entering it, I then made it 5 digits, then 6, then 7, all the way up to the full 10-digit phone number. So again, through play, or his desire to play on my cell phone, able to teach him to get on the potty, able to teach him how to enter a PIN, and teach him mommy's cell phone number. I think too, once things evolved and we started playing some early Roblox titles, one of those titles was called it's maybe Bee Swarm Simulator, and that ends up being very, very text-based, as you're running around getting different quests from different bears and trying to understand what it is they want you to accomplish. But then you're also gaining exposure to numbers, as you have to collect a certain amount of pollen, and then you get a certain amount of honey, and then that, I think, becomes your currency to purchase different items. And so just the exposure to numbers, right? 10-digit, not 10-digit, powers of 10, right? Like, I mean, this thing was, hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands. And so learning to read numbers too, I thought was really, really cool and part of that experience. So again, just like Pokemon, through these video games, Roblox, which again, not a lot of people, or not everyone, I should say, values video game play. Not everyone values trading card games, but there are tons of learning opportunities. And again, it's productive play. If you're learning through play, it's productive play. A lot of learning opportunities inherent in some of these things that some choose to dismiss. And so it's just been a lot of fun to engage with him in these activities and see his growth, his development, again, through play. I do have plenty of other stories that I think that's what I'm going to focus on this week. Right, I got 3 videos left, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday, on which I can share some more stories of productive play, whether with him or with my daughter, and they're sort of different, very, very different developmental stages and interests. She's currently 2, he's 8. I've got a lot of time and experience to look back on with him, and then maybe trying to replicate some of those experiences with her. But that's what it's about, right? Again, productivity, I think, for myself, my habits, my routines, but also thinking about what my children are learning, whether through play or through their different activities or just through my actions, I think is really important to reflect upon as a parent. So I'll share more of those throughout the week. But that's it for me, right? If you're just tuning in, and most of my videos are about this long, somewhere in the I don't know, maybe as short as 6 minutes, all the way up to 10 or 12 minutes. And then at the end of the week, I put them all together in a single sort of compilation video. But do me a favor, take that 30 seconds, comment down below. Any stories you like, any thoughts on the stories I shared, or stories you might share, about productive play, your experience with games like video games and TCGs as a child, or maybe now as a parent, as an adult. Otherwise, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you catch me on the next one. That's it. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the morning. Take care. All right, good morning. Today is Wednesday, February 12th, 2025. I'm Anthony. This is Drive Dive. So this week, I guess I stumbled upon the topic of productive play, right? And learning through play and reflecting on my role as a father and some of the interactions I've had with my children. focusing on their growth, their development, and the ways in which we've accomplished a lot of that, I think, through play. With my son yesterday, I think I talked a lot about video game play, trading card game play, and I'll revisit that tomorrow. I think there's some specific things I'd like to share there. But focusing on my daughter, right? My son is 8. We went through some things with him, right, in his development, maturation, and now thinking about my daughter, very different things I think to work on. She's I've just been slower to, or delayed, right, with developing her speech. She's potty trained like a pro. It kind of didn't take much time at all, but speech has been delayed. She, from a very early age, a lot of pointing, a lot of grunting and things of that nature to get what she wants, right? And I'm okay with that, right? Because at the same time, it's like, well, we're learning that different signals, right, mean different things and might trigger different responses. And so for me, that's okay, right? She's communicating, expressing her needs, her wants, or to the best of her ability, expressing simply that she wants something or needs something, right? I mean, that is what's happening when a child cries, right? They don't have the gestures or the words to signal what they want. They just have this ability to cry and scream to signal that they need something and that they need your attention. And so that's been my philosophy. That's the way I've always looked at it. Is okay, they're upset, they need something. It's then my job to figure out what that is. I know there's another school of thought that says, well, maybe children need to self-soothe. And I'm like, well, I disagree with that, right? I mean, to an extent, right? I mean, there are times where maybe that's the case, and there are some problems that they can figure out. But when they're very young, I don't even know what the problem is to then determine whether or not this is a problem that the child should be able to figure out on their own, to then not intervene and let them figure it out, if that makes sense. I took the same approach with my son, now that he's older. If he complains about something, and I'm like, okay, well, you can figure it out, right? I can put it back on him and communicate to him that no, like you don't need me for this problem. I appreciate you coming to me with your concern and expecting me to be able to help you. I could, but at the same time, this is definitely something you can take care of, right? Or I could be like, oh wow, like that's pretty serious. Let's talk about that, and and then we figure out how together we can solve that problem, right? And so, for now with my 2-year-old daughter, when she was younger, like I said, mostly crying and screaming, and then it turned into you just kind of pointing to things, or when I'm picking her up, when I'm holding her, she'll point a certain direction, and that's the direction she wants me to take her, right? Or she'll start leaning her body in a particular direction. Okay, well that's where she wants to go. And we've slowly worked on those things, trying to then pair words with her gestures, right? I'll start saying certain things. So if she's pointing to the kitchen, I'll say kitchen. She's pointing to the living room, I'll say living room, right? And trying to just consistently then work on that vocabulary. So now it's, I hope on some level, right? I'm no professional at this thing. I've read a little bit about learning theories and constructivism in mathematics education and whatnot. And so just trying to put all of these ideas together where, okay, maybe we need to associate a want with a gesture, with words, right? And get all of these kind of signals together and meaning the same thing. And so, I don't know, but for me, right, it's then, okay, the goal is speech development. The goal is, right, and however you define that, right? At some point, it's just simply being vocal, right? On some level, it's just being vocal, right? There might be that gesture of, upstretched arms, right? She's looking up at me, she holds her arms up. That means she wants me to pick her up, obviously, right? But we then want to encourage her to start trying to say up, say something, right? At all, right? Like, We need more than just the gesture. There should be some sound coming from our mouths when we want someone to pick us up. And that was a word, that she, now that she started to develop and now uses consistently. And so there are other times, I guess, when we're playing, right, and she's running around the kitchen. We're fortunate enough to have a pretty big kitchen. There's an island. She'll do laps around it, and while she's playing, no, they're not words, but she's screaming, right? She is happy. She's having fun, and one approach might be to say, like, hey, this is kind of annoying. Like, hey, Ellie, I need you to tone it down. No screaming. Stop screaming. But on the other hand, right, if the goal is for her to just be more vocal, period, I don't see a problem with screaming. I think it's okay, right? Reminding ourselves again, the overall goal is speech. And at some level, speech is just sound. And so the more sounds she makes to express herself, her feelings, her emotions, I mean, I don't see a problem with it, and I'm not the type of parent, it's not my philosophy to then put a damper on it. I just don't see the need for that. Don't get me wrong, right? I mean, for me, it's taken me a little while to get to this place. I generally take a while to adjust to certain changes, new environments, new routines. If I feel like they are thrust upon me, right? I mean, if they're of my own making, my own design, my own choosing, that's one thing. But when it feels like they're thrust upon me, I can be very, very grumpy. And so it's taken me a while to get here where it's like, oh, no, okay, look, I'm in charge of her development. I'm responsible for her development. Let's put on a happy face and figure this thing out, right? So, right, another sort of philosophy or thing, right, a sticking point for a lot of people can be technology, the role that it plays. And I shared a couple of examples with my son where I was able to leverage his desire to use my cell phone to aid in potty training, to aid in learning numbers and letters, to even teach him mommy's cell phone number, right, my wife's cell phone number. Been able to use his desire to have screen time, essentially, to teach him. There is a school of thought out there that we shouldn't have any screen time. And I've read articles, right, brain development, and kids need to really experience the world. And I think in one of those articles it said something about maybe not having a lot of unsupervised screen time. And okay, right, so for me there's a definite line, right? Like, I continually tell my son, like, don't ever ask me for a cell phone. Just know right now you're likely going to be one of the last to get a cell phone. Right, not having grown up with them, but also seeing the distractions that they can provide for myself, for some other people in my life, for my students in the classroom. I'm so anti cell phones and screens in that regard. I try to limit a lot of mindless screen time. But maybe I'll talk more about that later. But anyway, with my daughter, one of the ways that she likes to use my phone, and she does know the word phone. She does sometimes comes out just as own, but she's looking at it, pointing to it. I know she's saying phone, right? She'll want me to pick it up. She'll tell me that it needs to go in my pocket, and she has learned these words. Pocket, right? It's often in my breast pocket on my dress shirts and whatnot. So she's learned a lot of vocabulary, I think, and she's learned to express her desire to be on that phone. But one of the things we typically do on my phone is listen to music. One of her favorite songs is Wheels on the Bus, and so she'll just say bus. And that has meant take your phone out, I use Amazon Music, get to Amazon Music, get to her playlist, and then give her the phone so she can scroll on that playlist, find the Wheels on the Bus song. don't imagine she's reading, right? There's a little icon, the cover photo, and she'll play Wheels on the Bus. Initially, right, this is what I'm saying, like the growth and the development, is it okay, is it not okay? Initially, she would then be looking at the phone, and I'm like, all right, this isn't great. Like, I don't want her looking at the phone, blue light and whatever else happening. But we had to train her, like, okay, well, you got your song. It's only something that you listen to. Like, we don't need to be looking at the phone. She would enjoy, I think, looking at the phone and just continually scrolling and continually changing the song, whether she meant to or not. And some of these behaviors, again, can be kind of like, it can be kind of annoying, but at the same time, I think that she is learning some things, right? She is learning that this is a tool that she can interact with. And so she's learning, I guess, on some level to, interact with the world, with things around her. So I didn't want to, entirely dismiss it and just yell at her and be like, no, we can't listen to music. We can't sing the Wheels on the Bus. We can't go through some of those motions and things, right? And so but that's where we've gotten, I think, is, now with those, right, that maybe annoying behavior, and maybe if I took such a hard stance, no screens, etc., we wouldn't engage in that play. We wouldn't learn these words. We wouldn't have this kinesthetic movement. So I don't know. I encourage those of us watching, and appreciate you watching, especially this far in, if you can reframe maybe some of these behaviors as play, if we can reflect on the behaviors and the play activities then, and consider the learning opportunities inherent within, right? What is my child learning right now within the activity, but also what are they learning about me as a parent? What are they learning about our relationship, right? Am I somebody who's going to encourage play and play with them? Or am I someone who is going to yell and scream and send them to their room over wanting to play with the phone? But in their mind, is it them wanting to play with the phone, or is it them wanting to play with you? And are you punishing them, potentially, for wanting to play with you? Is that right? And so, I know, maybe it's a little too far, but if there's even that, the slightest chance that that's the case in my child's mind, like, I'm just not going to do it. That said, yeah, please don't just put them on the phone, unsupervised time, watching a movie or something, out at a restaurant or whatnot, right? I don't think that's supporting for me, for my daughter. I mean, that's not going to help her support that's not going to help her develop, her speech and her speaking abilities, etc. So, anyway, that's it. I think I dropped a lot. I'll try to elaborate on some of this stuff. Tomorrow I want to jump into a bit more of the learning and the fun that my son and I have had through play, how that's evolved, now that he's 8, and then maybe another day I'll go deeper down that rabbit hole of, my views on technology and how it's not always the most productive, cell phones and screen time in particular. But that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, take 30 seconds, comment down below, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Have a great day. All right, good morning. Today is Thursday, February 13th, 2025. I'm Anthony. This is Drive Dive. So yesterday, I hope I presented a strong argument for not dismissing certain early childhood behaviors as annoying, but rather accepting them, acknowledging them as opportunities to learn, opportunities for children to play and to develop. In the case of my daughter, develop her speech. So today, I'm hoping to present an argument for video game play, and just share a bit about the positive experience that my son and I have had playing video games, and the way it has evolved, and the skills that he has obtained, not just through video game play directly, but then through some of the other activities that followed from that video game play. And so as I've mentioned, I think early on, we went from some, what did I call them, like one-finger games on tablets, from learning letters and learning pins and using the pin to teach him my wife's cell phone number, and then evolving to two-thumb games, right, where you're using a controller and playing more sort of console-based games. And then we moved on to some PC games, right, like Roblox, and we tried Minecraft a little bit, but really now it's been a lot of, I guess, Rocket League and Fortnite, and sometimes going back to Roblox. But so through that video game play, I really do value video game play over passive screen time and just watching television shows, or dare I say watching YouTube, right, and just consuming things for pure entertainment purposes that aren't necessarily teaching us anything, that we aren't acquiring skills through, right? And so by that I mean, like, yeah, you might say that video game play is strictly for entertainment purposes, but while you might not be wrong, I would say that there's at least the learning of or acquisition of like hand-eye coordination skills, right? Or certain video games, when you are collaborating as part of a team, well, you're developing collaboration skills, communication skills. In a lot of video games, there's exposure to currency. So you're learning how to read numbers, addition, subtraction. I think you're learning a little bit of perseverance, where I'm thinking of our experience playing Bee Swarm Simulator on Roblox. You often needed to spend a lot of time gaining pollen, converting it to honey, and then using that honey to purchase a larger backpack, a better harvesting tool, and things of that nature. So lots of skill acquisition, I believe, those soft skills, right, through video game play and that screen time that he would not have otherwise developed, I think, just watching any old television show, whether for him it was, Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood or Blaze or Paw Patrol. He would not have, I don't believe, acquired those skills, certainly not to that level, watching and consuming that type of content, right? But being actively engaged through video game play did acquire these skills. But what followed from video game play, right, there was this sort of back and forth, and I don't know if you'd call it cyclical, but certainly some sort of interaction between the two activities of video game play and YouTube consumption. So to elaborate on that, I think prior to two-thumb games, right, the introduction of console and PC gaming, he was watching YouTube, and he stumbled on, oh my goodness, brings back a few years, but like Mr. Quacker Jacks or Quacky Jacks or something like that. That he initially stumbled upon on Tubi, watching Paraducks and Quacker Jacks, Mr. Quacker Jacks, and their video game play, footage of their play. He was hooked on that for the longest time. I said, hey, well, instead of just watching people play video games, would you like to learn to play video games? Right? There was that interaction. Maybe it started with the consumption, and then to the, like I've said, like active engagement. And then as he's learning to play video games, but still watching this content, I then said, right, would you like to try to figure out how to make your own videos? And so this constant sort of back and forth, right? This, like I said, cyclical process and interaction between the two activities. But then once we started recording our own gameplay, and once he was able to watch me edit some of the gameplay, I'll always remember when he was watching, I'm not going to think of the gentleman's name, but he's watching somebody play Among Us, and he's wondering, while he's watching the video, how does this person always get to be the imposter? Round after round of Among Us, he's the imposter, he's the imposter, he's the imposter, and then it clicks. He goes, oh, they probably just edited out the times when he was a crew member, when he wasn't the imposter. They cut that part out, they skipped right over it, and they're only showing us the rounds where he's the imposter. So through video game play, which then evolved into now content creation, recording videos, he's then developed, in my view, this sort of critical thinking lens, right? Or critical consumption of content. Like, is this real? Is this edited? Right? And kind of has that ability to look at the content he's watching and reflect on it that way. Really think a little bit deeper about it. And so, again, I don't want you to just dismiss video game play as purely entertainment, as a waste of time, as, oh, they're always in their room playing that stupid Fortnite. There are learning opportunities inherent in these video game activities, these gaming activities. But I will say, to give myself, I guess, a pat on the back and to encourage you as a parent, as a caregiver, a lot of what occurred was, I think, as a result of me engaging with my child and asking him these questions and saying, hey, we could try this or we could try that. Instead of watching, we could play video games. Instead of just playing video games, we could create content if you're interested in those things. And then, I've been involved with him and, in doing those things. And yes, it's required a lot of support, right? I think to create better content and to be equipped to do it. We have invested in some video mixers and capture cards and gotten pretty technical with it. I don't know that he understands all of those aspects, but I will say that those are certainly some additional skills that could be acquired in this process, right? Some specific AV skills, audiovisual skills, just learning how to connect everything. But it does take someone else, I think, to be involved and to prompt and to say, like, hey, this is possible. Are you interested? I can support you in, and then working together to make that happen. I don't know that on their own they would necessarily know what the next sort of level, the next sort of iteration, would be. I don't know that my son would have figured all of that out on his own had I not been involved, engaged, watching the YouTube content with him, watching him play video games. If I hadn't myself had some of these prior experiences, right, having grown up playing video games myself, understanding AV equipment to some degree. So I just encourage you to, again, not dismiss it, take an interest, be there with your child in what they're watching, in the content they're consuming, the games that they're playing, and be on the lookout for opportunities to make it less passive, make it more active, identify these learning opportunities and capitalize on them. So that's it with my 10 minutes. I hope I presented a strong, convincing argument for video game play, the learning opportunities that are there and possible through video game play. And that's what I was trying to do this week, just talk about active play, constructive play, productive play, I think was the term I was using. But anyway, if you wouldn't mind, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I try to keep it to about 10 minutes every day. Share something with you. Again, I know I spoke out against kind of passive consumption. I hope that this video, my videos on my channel, serve in some capacity to educate, motivate, inspire. That's it, man. Hit that notification bell so we can catch you on the next one. I'll get my last one for the week. Tomorrow is Friday. Get that one in the morning. So yeah, I'll catch you then. Have a great Thursday. All right, good morning. It is Friday, February 14th, 2025. I'm Anthony, and this is Drive Dive. So if you're just tuning in, please, watch the whole video, like it, subscribe, etc. But all right, who am I? At the heart of it, I'm just a guy looking to be more productive, right? I have this long 45 to sometimes an hour-long drive to work and then home again in the afternoon, so nearly 2 hours, anywhere from 90 minutes to 120 minutes in the car every day. I was just feeling like, man, what a waste. How can I get something out of this time? And I said, well, let's start a YouTube channel. Let's just start recording, getting some things out there. I think that as a husband, as a father of a boy and a girl, as an educator, as a gamer, as I'll say an athlete, right, a gym rat, I have to be, I have some thoughts, right? I have some things to offer the world. And so just putting all of that out there. And I think that's what this week has been about. I've been talking a lot about productive play, right? And I think it's more of the same, right? Like I said, I have this long car ride, this long commute. How can I make it more productive? With a family, with a house, with just the demands of a career, etc., and some of the things I need to do and some of the things I want to do. There's always a lot on my plate, and how I envision my day going, what I envision doing in that day, again, whether it's a need to or want to, things don't always go the way I'd like them to, and a lot of times that leaves me feeling very, very anxious and frustrated and darn right angry at times. And so I think a lot of this conversation I've kind of been having with all of you is again more of that same, trying to find that productivity. That's something I can hang my hat on. Okay, well, I didn't accomplish X, Y, or Z today, but what actually did happen, right? And so if I didn't get to work out, if I didn't get to change the furnace filter, or in the summer, right, do the yard work, cut the grass, etc., well, like, what did happen today? Right, I didn't get to those things because I was playing with my kids. Well, as a result of playing with my kids, like, what is happening? And so this whole week I've been talking about productive play and some of the ways that through play I feel my children have learned and have developed, and whether it's habit formation, whether it's soft skills, or more, concrete skills. Right, my daughter's working on speech. I shared stories about my son and potty training, and I talked about how even playing video games, right, where my son wants to do that with me and pulls me away from those chores and things I mentioned. We are learning a lot. We have learned a lot. We're bonding. We're building our relationship. We're working on our own YouTube channel. We're working on editing skills. We're developing AV skills. Just a whole lot is happening. And even though I'm not measuring that, even though it doesn't show up, on a to-do list, teach my child X, Y, or Z, help my daughter learn the word neck, as she has learned to say when we're doing piggyback rides up and down the stairs. Credit to my wife for that one, starting that trend, that routine. Those aren't on my to-do list as a want to or a need to. They're things that just happen. And so I think I've been taking the time to acknowledge those things and to celebrate those things. Like, in general, you might say, well, like, it's not okay to have a messy house, right? Envision your perfect life, like, you don't have a messy house. But, like, it's okay to not have gotten to those chores, to have a sink full of dishes, I gotta say, right? Or a floor that, we probably should have cleaned that thing yesterday. Those things will fall by the wayside. I mean, it's just going to happen, but it will nag at you, and I think make you feel, as I said, very anxious and downright angry if we don't take the time to look for those things that okay, if I'm not doing that because I'm doing this, what are some of those positive outcomes that are I don't know, coming about as a result of those other things, right? And listen, we'll circle back to all those other things, right? Once the kids are older, maybe they'll be able to help out with those sorts of things, right? But we've built that relationship with them, and we've talked with them about our own struggles, not getting to do the things that we need to do before we do the things that we want to do, right? We'll be able to partner with them eventually on it, and that doesn't need to be like I'm not saying that to be like, well, I'm not happy right now because of X, Y, or Z, and I'll be happier in a few years because, then we'll have a clean house. It's not even about that. It's just being able to let go of certain things, accept certain things. Like we'll get to that later. It's the same sort of approach I think I've had to take with my diet and my training regimen, where it's like, okay, I didn't get to work out, but I did stick to my diet, right? I did pack my lunch. I did stick to that, and I'm fine, right? I'm not gaining weight. Maybe I'm not losing as much as I'd like, or getting stronger as quickly as I'd like because I'm not able to work out as often. But there are other good things happening in my life. There are plenty of good things happening in yours too. We just have to take the time to acknowledge them. So, right, different habits, different routines, shifting my car ride, acknowledging the sort of intangibles or the immeasurables, right? Productive play with my kids and what they're getting out of our experiences and our shared time together. So, I don't know, that's it. That's me in a nutshell. I appreciate you tuning in. I've pumped out, quite a few videos these past few weeks, and I think maybe months now, just while I'm driving to work. Hoping to, like I said, share my story with the world. First and foremost, right? I'm going to be honest, it's about me. It's about me feeling more productive. But I hope that me sharing these stories, me sharing these experiences at the same time can help motivate and inspire you, and help you find that positive, help you find that productive in your life. And so, I don't know, give us a like, subscribe, take some time to comment down below. Promise to get back to you on your comment, engage with you. Right, lots of things that can come out of this as well. That connection, that community. So I look forward to all of those things as go further down this YouTube rabbit hole. That's it for me. Happy Friday. Happy Valentine's Day. Have a great weekend, and I will catch you on Monday. Take care.